afternoon, everybody, and welcome into the Maize Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. Joined by a very special guest, and it's great to have him on, Seth Berry, the recruiting writer for the Maize Blue Review. He is on the screen, and Seth, I like doing this show. I really like it when you come on, and it's great to see you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, Dennis, it's good to be on with you again. I know this is there's a lot going on in the world of Michigan football with the schedule announcement coming out yesterday and kind of how that looks with the new big, the new look Big Ten with UCLA and USC coming in. And of course, we're right in the middle of official visit season for recruiting. So there's a lot of guys that we got to talk about and that I'm glad to talk about with you and be on the show with you today. So I'm excited to dig into all of that good stuff with you.
Yeah, it's June 9th, but it kind of feels like we're heading into July 4th weekend with all these fireworks and things to talk about, and that does take us to recruiting. Michigan had a big weekend last weekend. There were a lot of big-time players in, and not to be outdone is this weekend where there are a host of players that are coming in as well, and that is what we are going to be talking about. Let's just have you take a look at it. Seth mentioned Michigan's future schedule. Oh, I already see. I'm so glad that Antoine is joining us. I can see him because he says he said hello on the feedback screen, and he loves the non-conference scheduling, and so this is right up his alley. I'm so glad that he's here. We'll be talking about that coming up in about 15 minutes from right now, but we will start talking about this big recruiting weekend. I do want to remind everybody that you want to know what's going on. Like, we have Seth right now, but if you want to know what's going on all the time, you go to michigan.rivals.com and you sign up for the Maize Blue Review. And I said it was like July 4th. It kind of feels like maybe it's Christmas, because how about this one right here? The Maize Blue Review right now is free until fall camp. Free until fall camp for a limited time. You can get full access today. So all of you that watch this show and you're always like, hey, they're always talking about I should be joining up Maize Blue Review. What's it all about? They're always saying, give us a shot. Now you can do that. Use the promo code UM2024, UM2024. It's valid just for a limited time, and that just broke out today. So that is exciting news. So we want to see you over there on the den, the posting board. There's a little teaser for you of somebody I was going to be talking about in a minute or two. But let's take a look at this weekend. And Seth, I like the big-time guys. I like the very tippy-top players, the best players that you could possibly have. I want to know who they are and if Michigan can land them. And they just don't get bigger, figuratively, literally, than Justin Scott, the defensive tackle out of Chicago, Illinois. He's coming into Ann Arbor this weekend. I was going to tell you to lie. I don't want you to lie, but I don't want you to tell me the truth if you don't feel like Michigan has got a chance with him. What kind of chance does Michigan really have with Justin Scott?
Yeah, obviously, Scott is a big time prospect, 5-star guy. Those are always exciting, especially when you have guys like, Jaden Davis, who committed to the class. And Scott's been on campus before. He's been to Ann Arbor, and, he decided to come up for the official. So that's always a good sign, when you get a guy for an official visit and, he's building a good relationship with the coaching staff. And usually when, you have a guy that's making an official visit, that is one of your top few schools, because you're going there to kind of check things out, and you're getting into the process of, where you need to be with making a decision, what a lot of these 24 guys are. As far as Scott's case goes, there's some other schools that are in play for him, and in that Michigan, I hate to start this on like a bad note, because there's so many guys that Michigan are clearly in play for, but Scott's going to be a tough pull. I think he'll be a tough pull at the end of the day. But to have him on campus this weekend, the thing about these things is that things can change, on a dime, right? We could, for all we know, Scott could come this weekend and all of a sudden he has a really good visit, and Michigan, moves up at the top of his board. Right now, That's not something that I have an indication of, but yeah, I mean, anything can change. But to have him on campus, to have him there for an official is a good sign, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
Seth, you can be skeptical. Any pessimism that you bring, I want you to be honest about it, despite what I said earlier. I will balance that out with a lot of positivity when it comes to Scott, and try to, what do they say, think it into reality or whatever it is. It's close to that saying. Speak it into reality. That's what I'm doing when it comes down to Scott. But I don't want you again to make things up just to make me happy and everybody that's watching here. We want you to give us your honest assessment. All right, well, there's plenty of guys here. Let's go to the next one. Here's another guy that would just make everybody as happy as can be. And Michigan, they've had some success down through the years in going down to Ohio and specifically Cleveland, but Glenville is a hotbed for the Buckeyes. And Bryce West, I know that OSU really wants him, but right now he's up here in Ann Arbor. Can the Maize Blue somehow influence West to come north?
Yeah, and I think West actually tweeted that he got to Ann Arbor last night, I believe. So yeah, he's back up there again for again. He's been up there multiple times to Michigan, to Ann Arbor, and he's checking it out this weekend for an official. This is one of those classic. I think it's going to be it's a Michigan Ohio State battle, right? Ohio State really wants him, and man, I mean, this would be a big lot. I mean, it would be a big win for Michigan to get Bryce West, which I think they do have a real chance at him here. But on the flip side, like if Michigan pulls him, that's a huge loss for Ohio State. I mean, just the way things have kind of been going the last couple of years, and Michigan winning on the field, and then if they could win this battle with West, with Ohio State, that'd be absolutely huge for Michigan. But in the past, a guy like West might be, it's between Michigan, Ohio State. It's kind of been, Ohio State's backyard. Maybe you think, in a few years past that, maybe there wasn't much of a chance here and that it's just automatically Ohio State. But this group of commits right now for Michigan, the 2024 class, we always talk about coaches being great recruiters, right? And Steve Klingscale and Ron Bellamy and some of these assistants. But these guys that are committed to the class right now in 24 are great recruiters themselves. And they've been working hard on Bryce West. And it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this weekend, because there's a lot of people that feel there's a real shot that he ends up in Ann Arbor.
Well, that would be obviously great news for Michigan if they were able to somehow persuade West to accept the challenge. And it would almost feel like, you mentioned it, Michigan has taken care of Ohio State 2 times on the field, and things look good for this year. It would already this one. Jordan Marshall felt like a win, so that feels like 3 wins in a row. If they got West, that'd feel like 4 wins in a row. And then heading down and over to Ann Arbor for the game, it kind of feel like 5 in a row. So, yeah, man, the seal is broke, and it's a rush to Ohio for Michigan. Now, this is a player which he's got all the credentials here from rivals. Ryan Wingo, for those of you that are listening on the podcast, he's out of St. Louis, where Michigan incoming freshman Frederick Moore is from. But this guy's a 5-star. Everybody in the country wants him. Michigan just runs the ball every down. Why in the world would Wingo consider the Wolverines?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you look at the wide receiver situation with Michigan, because they're pretty deep on the current roster right now, and obviously you have Channing Goodwin that's committed there right now, and there's a few other guys that they're looking at that they could end up taking 3 or 4 guys in this class at wide receiver. I don't think Wingo. I don't anticipate him being one of them. Like I said, we'll see what happens, and he's up this weekend, and we'll see how things go. But again, really high caliber player, a lot of competition. But there's some other guys on the board that that Michigan that I think are much more likely that we'll get into a little later. But yeah, I mean, whoever gets Ryan Wingo, I mean, they're going to be very pleased with the talents he offers to their program. And if that's Michigan, then that would be great for the Wolverines. But there's a board right now for Michigan that they're looking at, and there's some other guys there as well. So even if they missed out on Wingo per se, I mean, there's going to be no shortage of targets there. So it'll be a good situation either way, I think, for the Wolverines here at the wide receivers spot in 24.
As we sit here a few minutes past 1 o'clock on this Friday, June the 9th, talking with Seth Berry, Michigan Maize Blue Review recruiting writer, 17 verbals for this upcoming class 24. And I just checked it this morning. That is good for number 3 overall on Rivals team rankings for 24. And we're talking about possibility of getting 18 or 19. Are you ruling out, before we get to the next player, are you ruling out any commitments this weekend, Seth?
No, I'm not ruling out any. I think there's at least one that we'll get down to. I don't know where you have them actually, but yeah, that we'll talk about. But yeah, I think it's possible that you could see a commitment potentially this weekend. So we'll see where that goes. But I mean, there's other guys on here, that Michigan feels really good about, but then they have a couple other official visits scheduled, so they're going to want to take their time and probably go to those other schools and see what they're all about too, and kind of make a calculated decision. But yeah, no, I'm not ruling anything out in that regard.
One of those 17 verbals is a guy that's taken in the sights and sounds in Ann Arbor this weekend. That's Jordan Marshall. He also was one of those battles between Michigan and Ohio State that the Maize Blue won that in years past. They wouldn't, but this is now a flipping the script in the 21st century. And, I mentioned, the Maize Blue Review. There's that tease again, that you can get the Maize Blue right now in full access today, and it's free until fall camp using the promo code U of M 2024. And I saw that Josh Henschke, the publisher, with a nice story about Marshall and what makes him tick. And I don't know if you saw that story because it's just moved this morning, Seth. But when it comes down to Marshall, guess what? He's a real hard worker and somebody that you start reading about and you're like, man, this guy sounds like he's going to be the real deal.
Yeah, no, that was an awesome story. I think Josh spent some time with him, went to his private workout and things like that. And really got a sense for, how Marshall is. And like I said, what kind of drives him, what motivates him to be successful. And yeah, great story over there at Maize Blue Review, which is why you should get the free trial if you haven't, and subscribe to us, because stories like that are just really awesome. And it's nice of Marshall to be able to do that with Josh and kind of take him through his day-to-day and things like that. But yeah, really great story. And obviously with Michigan at that running back spot, they're looking for that prized Taylor Tatum. He's a running back that's on the top of their board right now. And he's not visiting this weekend, but someone, if you paired up Marshall and Tatum together, I mean, that would, you're talking about another Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum 2.0 type of team there. So, Michigan fans can envision that and, get excited about the potential of that happening too. So we'll see what happens there with Tatum as well.
Seth, that's like, I don't know. It's not burying the lead because Tatum is not in this weekend. But when you start talking about 2.0, Corum, and the one-armed bandit, I mean, that is, those cannons are firing right there. So give me, it's off the beat, but give me a percentage that Michigan lands Tatum as you feel right now at 116 on this Friday. What's the percentage that you would give that Michigan gets Tatum?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put, I guess, a percentage on it, but if you, I don't know, somewhere in the 40% range, I would say right now. I mean, I talked to one, another source that talked to them about Tatum a little bit, and they kind of said, I kind of asked, hey, what do you feel about Taylor Tatum, where he's at, and they said, the source told me that he was feeling Michigan, whatever that means. I mean, sometimes I'm feeling, chocolate chip ice cream and get Oreo, I mean, you can be feeling a lot of different schools or different, flavors of ice cream, whatever. So I didn't really know what that meant, but it sounded good. So, I'm optimistic and about Tatum and his chances, and we'll see where things go.
Hey, well, if they're one of those choices of ice cream, that's all you can ask. And 40%, that's not too shabby. Now, Michigan already has, I guess I could count them up. I think 6 off the top of my head. You can correct me. Offensive linemen. And they've got Bennett Warren coming in out of Sugar Land, Texas. He's a monster of a prospect. I can't believe this kid's only in high school. 6'8", 318 pounds. Why is he coming in if Michigan already has a half dozen offensive linemen? Is there a chance that Michigan could take, I don't know, 7? I guess I can count them up. What's the chance?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're potentially want to take one more. So obviously that's kind of the battle with this. There's other guys on the board there too that they're that offensive linemen have in their top list, but. I think one more they could squeeze in there. We've kind of been asking like how or why, because this room is getting very crowded, clearly. But yeah, Warren's a guy that visited for the first time. I've talked to him actually several times. He's a very, very nice kid and very cool. But yeah, I talked to him a couple times even before, right when he got his Michigan offer, and then he came up a few months back, 2 or 3 months back, and visited Ann Arbor for the first time. He hadn't really been anywhere outside the state of Texas up until that point, one other school, I believe. And then he came up to Ann Arbor and was like Michigan is my top school, like top of the list, no doubt about it, for Warren. So that was a good sign. Whenever a kid can take a visit to a school like that for the first time, really not be outside the state, and then say, hey, Michigan's at the top of my list, then that's a good deal. Obviously, like you said, he's just a monster of a prospect at 6'8" and 318. And he is, I think if both parties say, hey, Warren wants to come to Michigan and Michigan really wants him, then he's definitely one to watch in terms of being a potential commitment to kind of round out that offensive line class. It's already pretty deep, to say the least.
Yeah, I said 5 because the last one was Garnera from Florida. They got the 2 kids from Ohio, another prospect from Texas and Blake Frazier, and then Sprague. So that's 5 by my count. So this would make 6. So they would take possibly 6. And yeah, man, 6'8", 318 sounds pretty good. Now the cheering that usually when Ohio State takes the field at Ohio State, you hear those boos, but this weekend you might hear some boos, but they're not booing. They're booing for Carter, like Lewin. Boo would be good in this situation, right? Boo Carter. Michigan fans really want Boo Carter. Are you ready to boo hoo here, or are you thinking they could cheer the possibility of getting Carter?
Yeah, Carter it's been interesting because there's a lot of people that seem to think, Tennessee is the school to beat, which is very well, could very well be true. I mean, he's built good relationships there, and it's a home state, it's kind of the home school for him. But he's going to make his decision on June 17th. And the interesting part about Carter was, that Michigan's the only official visit that he's scheduled leading up to that point so far. So, and I actually talked to Carter for the first time last week at a camp at Wayne State. And, he had some really, he said the vibes at Michigan have been really positive when he's visited Ann Arbor. I didn't realize this, but he's visited, I think this would be his 7th visit to Michigan, which is a lot for someone, that's coming from fairly far away, from Chattanooga. So, no, I think that he's kind of been a dark horse for me. When we did our 2 early, commitment, when we kind of ranked, who's going to come and just best guesses sort of thing. I had Carter there, just as a dark horse and someone that could commit. And, talked to a couple other, Michigan commits that have really tried to push with him. He's really good friends with Jacob Oden, the Michigan 24 safety. He was his 7-on-7 teammate, and they have a really very good relationship. So, if Michigan were the school here, Tennessee that would obviously be no surprise. But if Michigan ended up being the school, it wouldn't shock me at all, because he's made some really good connections and relationships with Michigan. And he's talked about, how he texts with the 24 class all the time, and, how he, they're always talking in a group text and kind of talking about the possibilities of, them winning a national championship and things like that if they, if he were to commit there. So, yeah, he's it'll be interesting to watch, and Michigan fans should be excited, when his commitment comes around, because it's possible. Michigan's in the mix here.
Boo! I love it. Let's go to a 4-star, and I like this name. I know recently you've been writing about Elias Rudolph out of Deerfield Beach. I believe that's where Shoelace is from, down there in the Sunshine State. A defensive end, 6'4", 210. Could probably put on a little weight, but does Michigan have a legitimate shot at Rudolph, who's in this weekend?
They do, yeah. And it's interesting with this the edge position. The board has kind of not expanded, but there's just been some guys recently that have come into the mix and are really high on Michigan, and Rudolph is one of those. Brian Robinson, the guy that was in last week, some people figured Robinson would be one to commit by now if he was going to, and that Michigan has always been high on his board, and that could still be the case. But even if they didn't get Robinson and ended up getting Rudolph and another guy, like there's guys there on the board that are that they're looking at that could commit and get a couple at the edge position. And Rudolph is one of them. He's a great prospect. Like I said, he's probably could stand to put on some weight. But that'll be worked on once he gets to Michigan, if he ends up committing. And things like that. So yeah, they really like him as a prospect, and he's on campus this weekend, and we're going to see what comes out of it.
Heck of a weekend. Let's grab some more thoughts while we have a minute or two more with Seth Berry. Dominic Nichols, also an edge prospect out of Maryland, 6'5", 245. He's good to go physically. He looks like he could step on the field immediately. Do the Wolverines, are they in good standing as Nichols makes the rounds in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, Michigan's in really good standing here. He just put out a top list yesterday and had Michigan in that. And this is a guy that Michigan has also been working on, one of the edge targets I was talking about, and they really like him as well. So yeah, another guy that Michigan is in good standing with here with Nichols.
I feel like Michigan can get everyone, but I know that's not possible. It just feels like that. You go into Andre Evans, says athlete, 6'1", 181. I'm going to put him at safety by just taking a look at his thumbnail. How about Andre Evans, who spells his name starting with an O, the big O on D, possibly at safety for Michigan?
Yeah, it was interesting with Evans. We were trying to get him because there were multiple guys at this camp. Me and Josh were at last week at Wayne State. Evans was one we were trying to get. It didn't end up. Those camps are kind of a mess. Guys are over here doing 77 at 1 minute, and other guys are registering and things like that. And Evans will be on campus this weekend. I don't have a lot of intel on what's going to happen with Evans. I just haven't been able to talk to him. I wanted to talk to him last week, and just didn't get the chance to. So Evans is a mystery to me right now. Just full disclosure, I'm not sure where he is kind of at as far as Michigan goes. But we'll try to get that information this week and kind of see where he's at as far as the Wolverines stand.
All right, I don't mind a little mystery. A mystery is how to pronounce this next guy's name. I'll give it a shot. David. Do you know how to say his name?
I said Pal, but I don't. I'm not entirely sure.
I think that's
how it's gonna be.
I'm gonna say Paley Pal, just because it breaks it up. It sounds like the best way that, pale, it certainly could be. That's the way it looks. But I like paley pale. It just, to me, breaks up and sounds good. What about, I'll use my own, I said it, David, paley pale, a defensive tackle, 6'3", 300 out of the Keystone State, Pennsylvania. He looks like he could be Maize Blue.
Yeah. This is a guy that Michigan, I think, is in good standing with as well, and has a good chance. We've talked about a lot of edge guys, but these guys, in the middle of the line that are important as well. At 300 pounds, that's those guys are valuable as well. And I think him coming into Michigan this weekend, will be good for him. And again, another guy. There's so many guys that are in really good standing with Michigan right now. Like I said, it feels like they could land a lot of these guys, and this is another one here.
Shadyville thinks it's Pell.
Yeah, we're getting pronunciation, recommendations. Maybe
Pell,
that might be it.
Pell, paley, pale. Let's go.
Between 10 or 15 of us, that's maybe we can get the pronunciation at some point.
I'll make this guarantee: if he commits, I'll find out what it is, and I will make sure that I'm pronouncing it the right way. Well, we could make pancake and waffle jokes all day long, but Owen Waffle was at Notre Dame. He's got a Notre Dame hat on, but he's not with the Fighting Irish anymore. What about Michigan and Waffle?
Yeah. He, like I said, he decommitted from Notre Dame, and the interesting part about that is when he decommitted, it was kind of right along the lines of when Michigan, gave the offer, and that happened, and shortly after that, he scheduled an official visit to Ann Arbor this weekend, and Michigan is another guy they're in good standing with, another defensive tackle here, and we'll see what comes out of this weekend, but yeah, I really, really like him as a prospect.
Micah Capana. There's a part of me that wants this guy to commit, because then in the future, you could have Michael Capana and Cole Cabana. Capana. Let's go. Michigan, he's out of Vegas. I know Antoine really likes his tape. He has said so when he's watched it, but Michigan is it likes Taylor Tatum. Where do they fit in when it comes down to Capana?
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned, Tatum is for sure the number one priority there. But as far as Capana goes, I was talking to Josh a little bit about him too. We have some guys in the Rivals rankings that aren't necessarily ranked, or they don't have a rank yet. But obviously, when they commit, they'll shoot up the rankings and get a ranking. But I really like his game, and he would not be a bad fallback option at all. If Michigan were to lose out on Tatum, obviously they already have Jordan Marshall, so looking for a second back, and he would, that would be a good fit for Michigan there, I believe.
It'd be a good fit if Waffle comes in, because he could team up on the defense with Manuel Bagel out of Germany, who's in Connecticut. He's in for an official visit. And I think that brings us to, I guess we have more than one. I thought this was the last one. Amarian Stewart, he has long been linked to Michigan. Do the Wolverines, are they still in a good spot here with the wide receiver out of Kentwood High School in Chicago, Amarian Stewart?
Yeah, I think things are getting closer with Amarian Stewart in terms of being able to potentially reel in a commitment there. Stewart is one. We talk about Jordan Shipp, another guy who was on campus last weekend, and then you probably heard of Mekhi White, the kid that put Michigan. He visited Michigan and put him at the top of his list. Kind of like the same thing Warren did. When he visited campus for the first time. So there's 3 or 4 wide receivers here that they have a really good shot at. Stewart's one of them, and we'll see what comes out of this weekend. But yeah, he's long been on Michigan's board, and there's been a long-standing good relationship there with him and Ron Bellamy and things like that. So yeah, but things are looking good for Stewart and for the Michigan wide receiver class here.
Seth, two more players. If I had hair, I would do it like Jordan Johnson Rubel, who has indicated that right here that he is in Ann Arbor, a 5'11" safety out of Florida. I haven't heard much about JJR, but Michigan has him in here. He's highly rated by Rivals. Let's go.
Yeah, and I wasn't even sure myself that he would be in this weekend until I saw a tweet this morning. He wasn't on the board I had, so I think he's a surprise. I mean, it's not really a surprise, right? Some of them just don't publicize, what's going on and what they're doing until they tweet it out or whatever. But that was something that I wasn't aware of going into the day, and to have him on campus, I've heard some things about that Michigan's really they like him as a prospect, and he's made some good connections there in Ann Arbor. So it'll be interesting to see if we hear anything coming out this weekend with Jordan Johnson Rebel.
All right.
More pronunciations are coming in.
Yeah, I kind of like that last one, Pele. Okay. A question that comes in kind of from left field. Jaden Smith, a 6'3" athlete out of Charlotte. Any chance, this is a name that has popped up. I saw on Rivals, Josh Henschke mentioning Mr. Smith, Michigan, already cornering the market on Smiths in this recruiting class with the Smith brothers, Gerard and Jacob, I believe. What about Jaden Smith? Any chance that he ends up going blue?
Yeah. Jaden Smith just announced the top four. I believe it was yesterday, and had Michigan in there. I think he was up for an unofficial visit to Ann Arbor last weekend, and is set to make his announcement for his commitment on Monday. So I think that's something Michigan fans will want to pay attention to, and see if he chooses the Maize Blue on Monday. But he's high on Michigan, and Michigan is high on him. He's another one we kind of talked about. He's unranked on the Rivals rankings, and me and Josh were talking about, we're not really sure why, because he can do a lot of things. He's a really good athlete, probably playing the defensive backfield at Michigan or wherever he would end up. But I see he has 0 stars, but I don't think it'll be that way for long. I think Michigan really likes him as a player, and that he could do some good things in Ann Arbor.
All right. Well, you said that you think Michigan fans should be paying attention. So, I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. I will be paying attention on Monday. I'll be paying attention all weekend long to the Maize Blue review to see Seth whenever you get on there and type send, because I want to see what you have to say. Thanks for spending so much time with us. Have a great weekend, and always nice talking with you. Take care.
Thanks, Dennis. We'll see you. Have a good one.
You too. There he is from the Maize Blue review, the recruiting writer, Seth Berry. And it is great to have him on. If you missed it and you're just joining us, well, you can always go back and watch what's going on. These are all on YouTube. Of course, the podcast, you can hit fast forward, rewind. You can just listen to it all weekend. When it gets done, just take it back to the beginning. And, you always hear me talking about, join up, Maize Blue Review. Let's go. Michigan.rivals.com. How about this? Maize Blue Review right now, free until fall camp. And you can get that full access right now by going to Michigan.rivals.com. This offer is valid for a limited time. Use the promo code UM2024. That's UM2024. It's great to hear Seth Berry. There's a lot of recruits. Big weekend for sure. A big day yesterday when the Big Ten came out in this wild scheduling that it was interesting to go through and see who the protected rivals would be for the next year or two, with USC and UCLA coming in. And there was not uniformity, which surprised me. I thought, you would take each team, you'd say, all right, they have this rival, they have 2 protected rivals, they have 3 protected rivals. And it was like that, But some teams, Michigan has two protected rivals in OSU and MSU, but Penn State, they don't have any protected rivals. So a little bit wild how they went through it. I want to ask you out there, you Michigan fans, Michigan has to next year. They've got a doozy of a schedule. They've got Fresno State, Texas, the game that I have been thinking about for since it was announced. This is a great non-conference game. Arkansas State, but the home games: Maryland, MSU, Minnesota, UCLA, and Wisconsin. It's a nice home state along with Texas. And then on the road, wow, at Illinois, at Ohio State, at Rutgers, and then out to the Coliseum to play USC. And, I just say, wow. And there's been some thought like, wow, is Michigan getting screwed? Is this too much of a gauntlet? Should Michigan look to the Texas and Oklahoma games if they can and cancel them? Because these are just too many tough games to play realistically if you're Michigan. Now, people know where I stand. I like the big-time games. I like the gigantic matchups. And nobody's wrong. You can say, I really like the real easy games. I like it when I never have to worry if Michigan's going to win or not. So I would like them to just schedule a bunch of W's. Last year's non-conference slate, of Colorado State and Hawaii and UConn, people loved it. They want more of that. They're getting it this year. East Carolina, UNLV, and BG. Michigan's going to go through them like a hot knife through butter, man. It's like, let's go. This thing, and it's great. Some people love it. That is great. I think it's great is Texas next year. That game, I don't want to overdo it, will have 25 times the intensity and energy of all of these 6 non-conference games put together. It'll be packed. People will be, people will be going nuts for that game. But not everybody feels like that. I think the pros of having the big time matchups, of now having a 12-team playoff where you can, I'll say it, afford a loss or two, and you can still get into the college football playoff. When you're sitting around in the off season after this year and you're looking to next year, you know how much I'm going to be talking about Texas? That's everybody's going to be talking about the Longhorns. I can't wait. And Michigan's not playing Texas in the opener. They're playing Fresno State. Nobody's going to be talking about Fresno State. Everybody's going to be talking about Texas and the Horns coming in and down horning them or whatever that thing is. You know what you do. But there's some Michigan fans who are like, oh my gosh, this is too much. This isn't fair. Ward Manuel, why is he scheduling such, why is he letting the Big Ten screw Michigan by playing all these tough games? Now, I don't see it that way. I love it. I'm glad Ward, if, he's involved in this, and he is, to get it down like that. I'm glad that they're playing all of these tough games. I don't think Michigan should go to Notre Dame and say, oh, we've got too many tough games. Let's just go ahead, instead of Notre Dame in 2033, let's bring in North Dakota because we're playing too many toughies. No, I like it like that. But now that's just my opinion. I would like to hear yours. I think, and I understand the, the cons. You could lose that game. You look at other teams and you're like, they're not playing anybody. That's going to be a cakewalk for them. Okay. Those seem to be the cons. The pros are that you wake up every day and you're like, ooh, Michigan, Texas. You look at Michigan going out and playing USC. They're playing UCLA. I mean, you look at the schedule and it's these things loaded. If you could ever think about getting season tickets, I know season ticket holders, they love going out there, but you know what? When it gets to the UNLV game, you know what you'll find? You'll find a lot of people online. Hey, anybody need 4? Anybody need 6? And we're selling them face value all over Facebook. I mean, that'll be it. And then we'll be watching the game, and the game will kick off, And you'll look down in the student section, and there'll be like 10 students sitting over there. Like, well, UNLV, late arriving crowd, 3:30, parties going on. And then you'll look around the rest of the stadium and be like, whoa, where's everybody at? Michigan will be up, 50-0 in the third quarter. The students will be gone for that one. Half of the other stadium, everybody's going to be like, yeah, that was a nice, easy one. We got that dub. Look around. In 2024 on September the 7th, when Michigan is playing Texas, an hour before that game, there's just going to be electricity in Ann Arbor. And you look around that stadium, you won't be able to they'll break the record, the attendance record for that game. They'll shoehorn everybody in. The ticket prices will be astronomical. Everybody's going to be talking about that game. The atmosphere will be off the charts. And then I'll hear people say, that game's too tough. I don't want to play that. What? I'll take the cons of the toughest. Maybe Michigan will win the game. And them going down to Austin, or them then going to Norman to play Oklahoma. Bring it on. I'm ready. Now that's me. And I know that there are a lot of people, Antoine, that think differently. Let's take some of the feedback here and let's go to it. Always interested in your feedback on this particular topic of, is Michigan playing too many tough games? Should I try buying out of some of these? Are they getting screwed? Your thoughts on that? I don't think so. I love it. And I can't wait to see all of these games coming in. Here's the aforementioned Antoine, who says he thinks the Big Ten is trying to become the premier conference. Well, yes, they are. It's a battle between the SEC and the Big Ten. And that is certainly what the Big Ten is trying to do. AJ says the Big Ten is gobbling up all the premier teams. It will eventually force Notre Dame to join us. They will have no other choice because they will have no one left to play unless they join the SEC. Yeah, I'm 52 years old. I got started in radio in 1994. Every summer for a couple days, I rolled out the question, are you looking forward to the day that Notre Dame joins the Big Ten, or should the Big Ten lock them out? And for a couple days, everybody would weigh in. I hate Notre Dame. The hell with Notre Dame. They're a perfect fit. Well, one day Notre Dame. I'm waiting. Maybe it happens, but I'm going to have to see it to believe it the day that Notre Dame joins the Big Ten. Although a former player was texting me last week about just why that might happen, a lot of what AJ had to say, a lot of that NBC deal, and just how this is what's happening. It's going to force Notre Dame's hand. That's all out there. I think that, you're not just talking like it's 1995 or anything. Maybe it will. I'm just going to have to see it to believe it. Shadyville is happy that we have a tough schedule. Playing against tough competition only makes you better. That's one reason the SEC does so well. They play tough competition for most of the year. Shadyville is, he likes it. Well, let's see. We're going to go through. I started at the beginning. People were already talking about the schedule, and then we got into a lot of recruiting. And hey, how good of a blocker is Wingo? I like that one. There's somebody talking about one of these guys running a 10.5, 500 meters. That's fast. Let's go. Let's see. I have to speed it up here to the end. Oh, yeah. Here we go. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens a little bit more frequently than Haley's comment, and that is getting some feedback from Venice. And Venice joins us today, and he says he can't wait until U of M versus USC. He lives 10 minutes from there. So this is Venice, California, not Venice, Italy. We're not talking about the Grand Rialto Bridge and St. Mark's Square. We're talking about Venice Beach in USC. Good to see you, Venice. And in 10 minutes, you have to go to that game. Shadyville is buying tickets as soon as they go on sale. Look at that. That'll be a sick game to go to. Yeah. Or, for a lot of these people just want to load it up with North Dakota and not USC, not Southern California, not South Carolina. I don't know what other USC, one that, is going to be in the group of 5, if you get one of those teams. So it'll be a nice, easy game, for Michigan. But there's not many. We haven't seen anybody sitting around talking about, let's duck everybody and let's, just worry about the end of the season, not the beginning of the season. This is an interesting one. Mr. Golf, GAM, is asking the question if the anticipation for this season is killing anyone else, or is it just me? I don't think it's just you, GAM, but in my world, this offseason is going like this. The off seasons prior to this one and this last one, they tended for me to drag on forever. It seemed like the off seasons took 5 years. I sat around and, Michigan would lose their final game. They would lose to Ohio State. They would lose 2 or 3 games, whatever it was, the bowl game. And it would be like, man, I've been sitting around for 5 years. And they're like, it's just January 15th. It's like, wow, this is taking forever. Last year, here's what happened with the offseason. It was like that. Michigan was back on the field. It just seems like Michigan. I still have the bad taste of TCU in my mouth, but it seems like it was just yesterday. This season is going by, this offseason, fast to me. But it's because of the success that Michigan had last year. I'm enjoying the offseason. Looking back at last year, I'm certainly anticipating the upcoming year. But that's my reasoning. Other years, it is dragged on at a snail's pace. It is absolutely going by in light years. At a lightning pace, maybe better way to say it. Take that off the pod. Edit that out. Okay. I've been looking at a lot of the recruiting. We still are getting to people talking about the scheduling. Don't forget that we are going to take your feedback. It was just that I'm stopping along the way and checking what people are saying. Antoine does not like the new schedule. It gives the SEC another advantage. I would say, Antoine, go check to see what Alabama's doing. They look like they're beefing up their schedule a little bit. And if it comes down to Michigan has to duck big-time opponents because they have to keep up with the SEC, who are playing a bunch of dogs and cupcakes so they can line up to get into the postseason. Well, I don't want to go that direction. I don't want to live in that world. Hopefully, this will leverage the SEC to play an additional 9th game, and then you'll have some uniformity there, and you can look and say, are they just going to play these 3 dogs all the time? And is that what it come down to? Because for me, and I like that the Big Ten, and then Michigan is at the forefront here, what's good for college football are the great matchups. Michigan and Texas is a great matchup. Everybody wants to watch that. Michigan and Fresno State, not so much. Michigan, Bowling Green, not so much. Michigan, Oklahoma, everybody wants to see it. That's what's good for the game. Hopefully, this type of scheduling takes hold and people will take notice and we'll get more of what's good for the game instead of some kind of live PGA type deal with these cupcake schedules and people like backing it up like, well, I really like the schedule. I'm really looking forward to the UNLV game. Let's see if that can happen. 12-team playoff. There will be no doubt we are dominating after this schedule. You don't really know who you are until you have to dig deep. That's from Shadyville. We knew that the coach was going to be all over this one. He's looking at the SEC, and he says if they keep their schedule, they'll probably have more teams in the playoffs, and it will give them a better shot. Not only that, they'll be fresh. Yeah, they'll get the buys. They'll probably be at home. They'll have more teams in there. Yeah, that's the downside. But the upside is, what if Michigan wins some of that games? They'll be more battle tested. And what about then bringing in Georgia to the big house in December? Who wants to see that? And you'll get that. You may not get it every year, and maybe it'll force the SEC's hand. For me, Coach, it's like I'm not a big hunter or fisherman, but I went out at Lake Michigan years back fishing for salmon. And we went out there. And then the first one, since I had never done it before, they said, you're first up when that reel hits. And you know what? It hit. And that thing just started zinging. Zzz, and they handed me the pole. And I was fighting that thing, to get in there. By the time I got, close to the boat, the guy helped me. He took and then they just scooped him up with a net and brought him in, which was all nice. But the next one, I wanted the fight. I think like the SEC and the coach, you just want to sit on the back of the boat, sipping some lemonade. And then when the right reel starts zinging, just say, you just go ahead and bring it in. You want him to scoop the net up, put him in the cooler. The coach will look over and say, drink his lemonade and say, it looks pretty good. What about the chase? What about the excitement of the chase? Of the big time game? I don't know. At least that's the way I'm thinking right now. Coach, Maverick likes it. Likes the awesome games. AJ, what's going to happen is the Big Ten gets a chance to beat itself even more and go into the playoffs hurt and tired. Boo-hoo. I know. There it is. Shadyville doesn't think the SEC will be fresher. Their conference is still much tougher. There's going to be no conference. I don't know. You're assuming that the Texas and Oklahoma, who have not been very good, are going to be good. They're big names. But I don't know. You get Bama in Georgia. Florida, they've sucked for the last couple of years. Who else are we talking about over there besides Georgia and Alabama? Who? The Vols? What are you worried about? Come on. I'll take a couple more. Victor. 24 only makes me nervous because of all the turnover we're expected to have after this year throughout the roster, including quarterback position and coaching staff. Otherwise, love all the marquee games. Well, right. I mean, if J.J. McCarthy has a great year and everybody's gone and then, Michigan's sitting there, well, guess what? You're probably going to lose 3-4 games anyways. So let's have some exciting games. That would be my counter to that. Like if you're like, wow, the roster's going to be completely depleted. Everybody's going to be gone. And we've got a really tough schedule. Well, what are you going to do? Bag out of the Texas game. So there you go. You could play, 3 easy games. And then what? Is that really going to, build you up so that you can, then go out and play better against USC? Or you just want it as easy as possible? Easy non-conference slate. And then no USC or UCLA. You want to just play, Purdue And I know Indiana and Northwestern, let's Michigan State. Yeah, we'll play them. Of course, you got to play Ohio State at the end of the year. That's the only tough game. My sense is, not just you, Victor, and I know you make a good point about Michigan. Maybe they'll just have Colston Loveland coming back on offense next year. That's it. They'll lose everybody else. Possible. But I get the idea that many would like to duck everybody as much as they can, and the only game that they want to play that might be close would be Ohio State. That's it. Let's just play Ohio State, and then let's get into the college football playoff. Over. Richard says over. Michigan will be the national champ. SEC has a tough schedule. We're going through it a little bit. They're ducking people. Mr. Golf, GAM, says the coach wants chips, so he asks for cupcakes first. Well, what if they don't go, this is we can be honest about this. Michigan has their best chance to win a national championship since they've won a national championship back in 97 this year. This is the one. When you look at who they have coming back in offense, when you look at the quarterback, when you look at the defense, the coaching staff, and yes, the schedule, it sets up for them. And who knows? Maybe, Georgia will be this ferocious team. Everyone's like, man, this is a generational team. Alabama's got a generational, maybe one of those two teams people will look at. But it looks like, just how, at least as we're sitting here on June 9th, that this is the best chance in every way you want to look at it. Michigan's best chance to win a championship. Now, what if they don't? Antoine. They're going to be like, let's dumb it down. They're not going to have a team like this again. I don't know. Maybe they will, but it doesn't seem like it, at least for a few years. So should they just dumb everything down as much as possible so they can kind of try to get into the 12? I know it just doesn't. It's not doing it for me. Do I wish the 24 schedule was this year instead of next year? Yeah, I do. But even then, there'd be folks like, well, no, we got the best team ever, but we've got this, tough mountain to climb. I remember back in 97 in the offseason, Michigan was coming off a couple 4-loss seasons. The Sporting News and Dan Pompei, they put their cover story out that the M in Michigan stood for mediocrity. And it was all over, Michigan. The M stands for mediocrity. And Michigan, people thought Colorado was going to be like the number one team in the country. Michigan had Notre Dame. It was too tough of a schedule. And Lloyd Carr said he read the book In the Thin Air about climbing Mount Everest. I read it. Ooh, I would never want to climb Mount Everest. But he used it as the theme, the axes, and the teamwork that it takes to climb Mount Everest was the 97 schedule. That's going to be for Michigan next year. Now they're climbing. It's not K9. What is it? If it's not Mount Everest, it's K2. I don't know all the mountain range. It's Kilimanjaro that they're going after. All right. Couple more. Let's see. Shadyville talking Notre Dame. They don't need to join the conference. Everybody wants to play them. Richard talking a little live. Money talks, but the BS walks. Notre Dame can kick it. Notre Dame and live. They kind of seem like, Ohio State and live. Notre Dame and live. Kind of feels like live backs Ohio State. Live backs Notre Dame. Notre Dame and live. Justin weighing in late in the show says the Big Ten was just trying to save Ryan Day's job at 24. He knows the heat is on him after losing 3 in a row. That's way too much. So they're trying to give him a Big Ten title. Yeah, Ohio State was able to pick and choose who they wanted to play, huh? USC was at the Big House in the 50s. Yeah, that's the one part about the 12-teamer when if you want the bye, but if you don't get the bye that first round, you get to host. So there'll be an 18 playoff, and so there'll be 4 spots. If you're 5 through 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, you will get to host a game in early December at your place. So it very well could be Michigan bringing in somebody like, let's say Southern Cal. I don't know, Alabama or Georgia, Florida, the U. I don't know if any of those teams. I don't know if Florida's back. Richard's saying it. They're going to have to come here. Hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with having the toughest schedule once in a while. And then look, the way things move around, like the chess pieces here, if it's so tough and Michigan plays these games and everybody else, it's just so easy for everybody else. And it's so tough for Michigan. And, Michigan's having a hard time in, recruiting because they can't. I think, Michigan's ready for this. If this was the Michigan from 2020 and the previous 20 years to these last 2, they finally hit. They've got it where they want. They've got the coaches, they got the players, they've got the recruiting, they've got everything. So now they have it. Now's the time. Bring it on. Embrace it. Let's go. Antoine, don't be scared of Alabama. Don't worry about Georgia and their advantages. Those teams have had so many advantages in recruiting because of the way things worked. And now it's evening up a little bit. That evening up with name, image, and likeness and what Michigan should be able to do in recruiting now, that's going to be a great equalizer, and it's going to be beyond any, Michigan's got to play Oklahoma. That's going to be a death shot. No, it's not. Michigan should be able to reload. When Justin Scott is in this weekend and they're able to tell him, hey, we're playing everybody. We're not Bryce West, Justin Scott. You're going to USC. You're going to Texas. You're going to Oklahoma. Let's go. And for Scott, you can play the horns next year. Come on. You need some money? We got it for you. We've crossed the Rubicon. You can get some. I think Michigan's in there. I should have known. Mr. Golf, GAM, I thought was a new listener and watcher to the podcast. And he was welcome. And I had wondered the last couple days. I thought, I think Antoine doesn't like, or I'm sorry, another A, Andres. I don't think Andres likes the limited schedule and the replays. I think he's boycotting the show. I haven't seen him in weeks. Here he is. That's not fun. Like I told you like Richard. Now Richard has he had a animated avatar, and now we have his picture. When you guys change things up, Richard's the handsome man. He should have a picture of himself up there. Before it was the animated one. But Andres, how was I supposed to get this out of Andres? I should have maybe had a clue, because whenever I talked about golf, Andres was talking about teeing it up. He was any golf reference, he was saying something. So, but I didn't make the connection, Andres. I just wasn't able to make the connection. But I feel better. I feel good and bad, actually. I thought we had a new and big time contributor. And I like that. I like people to jump on board and ask questions and get involved and all that. But then I was also sad because I thought, Andres has been one of the pillars of this show that I look forward to, to see where he's at with what's going on with Michigan. And if that's his swing, let's analyze just the swing here. If I can take a look at it, I'm going to use the super. Well, you finish up pretty high there. That's something. Yeah, you're obviously you're hitting an iron there. It was just out on the range. I like it. You know, I try not to tell myself many things at all when I'm swinging, but I do know, Andres, when I finish and I follow through and I'm way up, that's usually when that ball is flying out there. That's it. Good stuff. We'll take a couple more. Mr. Michigan. He finds it fitting Michigan plays USC on the road in 24, but they don't play each other in 25. He's laughing out loud. No home and home. How many times has USC played Michigan at home? Not very often, right? No, they probably had to cut that deal. Kevin Warren, had these guys, but, USC was like, we don't want to play Michigan on the road right off the bat. Come on. They gave him some sweeteners. They did the same thing to Penn State. Remember Joe Pa? Joe Pa got to pick and choose everything that he wanted when they came in. They gave him a sweetheart deal. They gave a sweetheart deal to USC and UCLA. We know that. Andres, it's dragging on. He's ready to get to September. This year is going so well because the recruits are coming in like no tomorrow. There's another good point. Every weekend there's something. There's lots to talk about. Shadyville is talking football and hockey. 26 more than likely in 4 years. You'll go to every Big Ten school at least once, and they'll visit you. Yeah, well, it'll be the day that USC comes in. I was just looking at something for the UCLA. Oh, I had the press pass from the UCLA game. The last time I believe that UCLA was in, it was Tom Brady's first appearance for Michigan. And I can remember Tom Brady coming in and the conversation like, oh, here's the kid from California, Brady. And what happened on the first pass that Tom Brady ever threw at Michigan? Pick six. First ever. Against UCLA. And I remember thinking, this guy is not a very good. So it would be an inauspicious or auspicious start. It's one of those. I forget. It's an inauspicious start, I'm going to say. For an auspicious. You want it to be. It didn't portell great things for Mr. Brady. So that's why, you can never draw too many conclusions on your first pass. Remember what Tom Brady had to say. Let me check it now. I should know that. I've got my AI working now. So although, my first foray into AI, I was like, how's Michigan going to do? And it sent me like a picture of the schedule. And I'm like, well, no, I'm asking you, artificial intelligence. And then it like gave me, so I said it again. No, what's their record going to be? And it sent me, pictures of, how to get tickets. And I'm like, this AI is stupid. Define inauspicious. Inauspicious, not conducive to success, unpromising. Tom Brady's first pass against UCLA was inauspicious. Has Michigan ever played in the Coliseum? I don't think so. So they'd have to play him in the regular season. And I don't remember Michigan ever playing USC in the regular season. Plenty of times in the Rose Bowl. In fact, the only Rose Bowl that I ever went to was Michigan and USC. And if I had the time, I've got the time. I could talk about it for. I'll give you my trip to the Rose Bowl. Everything was great. The Rose Bowl, the place that I dreamed about and heard about my entire life, and imagines just what it was going to be. It lived up to everything it could possibly be. In fact, I thought about it just for a second. I was like JJ McCarthy this morning. I was listening to this meditation app, and the guy was telling me, go to the greatest place that you've ever been on earth and go there now. And I ended up going to my cottage up north, but I thought about, maybe I'll go to the Rose Bowl because and the Rose Bowl met everything that I could. It was just warm enough. And you get down in the mountains, and I walk down the road, and to get into the Rose Bowl, and you see the facade of the Rose Bowl. And I went to where there was a Michigan tailgate, and on the way there were Michigan tailgaters that I recognized from Ann Arbor, and it was like, wow, this is like Ann Arbor West. And then, but it was a little chilly. I remember I had the jacket on, and I got to the Michigan thing, and I sat down, and they started playing. I was going to say the Beastie Boys, which would have been fine because I like the Beastie Boys, but then they played the Beach Boys, and the Pasadena song. And I never liked the Beach Boys before that, but as they played the Beach Boys, and I was looking over, and they had the Maize Blue balloons and everything. This tailgate that I was at. I was sitting on this bleacher by myself, and the sun, it was on my face there, and I thought, hey, it's nice enough to take the jacket off. And I took the jacket off, and then I'm like, I like the Beach Boys. And then the next song, I'm like, is this the Beach Boys too? I like this one. It was just, it was great. It was, I felt like, like Bo loved the Rose Bowl so much that my dad used to tease me about it. It's like, Bo only cares about going to the Rose Bowl. Like, and Bo, I don't think would even deny. He just loved it. But whatever they did there, he loved it too. And I felt like, now I know what he's talking about. He's right. Who cares if you do anything? Who cares if you win a national championship? If you go to the Rose Bowl, it is. And then, but there's one part that I've always, I know this isn't going to happen, but you look up when you're at the Rose Bowl out there on one of the golf courses, and they got the mountains. And then on some of the, I don't know if they were the bluffs or whatever, you look up and you see these houses up there. And you're like, I want to be at one of those houses and looking off and have the Rose Bowl in your backyard. I've never even seen that. Every movie, you see all these sweet houses in California that are around the mountains, and you look out there. It's mostly in LA, but I've never seen one of those. And there's a lot of them up there. I've never seen one where you look out and you say, wow, there's the Rose Bowl. I can imagine it. I try to imagine it. But I don't need to be on the ocean or anything else. Give me one of those houses that are in the backyard is the Rose Bowl. All right. If you've been there, I think people are nodding their head like, oh yeah, the Rose Bowl is the place to be. Maverick is like, you're not reading all of the feedback. I think, this is the right one from Michigan football and hockey. USC is scared to play in Ann Arbor. That's right. I think that's right. California people, Southern California people, and then Florida people, they love they love the weather, and they brag about it. I got friends from Florida, and when I go see them, but they just love talking. Oh yeah, it's just beautiful. They just love it. I always touting it on Facebook. They'll be in there in December. They'll have their shirts off, short sleeves, and be like, it's just great. But you get those Southern Cal folks, and you get those people from Florida, and you bring them up to Michigan. Oh, and their blood, they just can't stand it. It'd be such an advantage. It'll happen in our lifetime, maybe as early as not this upcoming season, but the following season when they go to the 12-team playoff. I would like, if I could pick right now, for Michigan to have a bye. But with that treacherous schedule that they have, they'll probably drop a game or two, which will put them into a spot. Hopefully, maybe they just drop one. That's what I'm hoping. And they get to host a playoff game at Michigan Stadium on December the 1st. And I hope it's Florida. or some other warm weather team. And I'll bet the house on Michigan. Those Florida people will come up and they just won't be able to handle it. Michigan will kill them. No truer feedback has ever come in than this one right now at 2:16 from Richard. It's all about the journey. Troy is saying that I'm fired up today. I am fired up. You're right, Troy. I feel good. Get used to my background. I think about changing up the studio a little bit. My wife just wants me to get the blank screen in the back. You see a lot of, and I've always liked my background, and my wife does not like the background. But I had somebody send me an instant feedback that says your background looks childish. I thought, childish, and then I said, childish. It's and then they said unprofessional. I thought, okay. I mean, I don't mind people sending me feedback, but now that it's been my wife and the young man who sent me the feedback, I've thought about it a little bit, and change is good. I don't know. I've fallen behind. Oh, I wouldn't mind getting LSU up there. OT getting in. He likes the new schedule. I like to go back and watch the good games. Last season, that was a couple games. Good point, OT. Speaking of Twitter, I saw OT is on Twitter. I saw OT on there. Here's Don. JJ has a good year overall. I think he would stay just because the quarterbacks in this class is heavier than 24. He could be one of the top quarterbacks. Don, you are correct. There hasn't been 6 quarterbacks taken since 1984, the Elway Marino class. And if you look, there's 10 guys that you think could be first rounders. And if you're getting where you think that if you're not one of the top 3, I think JJ can be one of the top 3. I think he is one of the top 3 right now. I don't think because Michigan throws the ball and then as much as other teams, which doesn't produce the numbers. And then JJ did not start feeling it. He did not get his complete game until the Ohio State game. And then still nationally, people looked at him like, he was only 50%. And when he was great in that game. So I think he's a little bit under the radar, but my guess is that he is going to be one of the top 3, certainly top 5, and he'll be considered a first rounder, but it's not crazy talk, Don. It's actually a good point. He could have a good year overall, and he could be looked at on the outside looking at as a first rounder, and he could come back. Absolutely. I can't, it's one of those things. Can you have your cake and eat it too? Can Michigan go out, and can JJ McCarthy and Michigan have a great year and Michigan, win a championship, and somehow JJ McCarthy, not come back? Not likely. I mean, if I tell you that Michigan wins a national championship, there's going to be a few for sure's on that. And one of those for sure's is that JJ McCarthy, is going to go pro. Is he going to be a first round pick? No, it's not. You come up with all kinds of scenarios where that doesn't happen. I would also think if Michigan does that and Harbaugh doesn't sign a new contract, then he's probably going to go to the pros. But, that's not a sure thing either. And I don't want to spoil anybody's June and all this interesting excitement. Interesting that Georgia does not play Alabama every year like Michigan plays Ohio State. Facts. That they didn't lock that one in. You're right. Here's a joke. I don't know who's Moose. It's getting where it's a little gamey here, maybe on the feedback because people are talking amongst themselves here, and I don't know what's going on. A few NFL players have made that joke to me about Michigan. The joke about it being cold. I say that's what happens when I fall behind. Live in Ohio State. Yeah. Ohio State, Georgia. We'll see if there's any new ones in here going, oh, there's Go Blue. Good to see him in here. To be the best, you have to beat the best. Bring it on. Yeah, Antoine. Let's go. Richard likes the passion today. Good point, Andres. By Richard, you're supposed to change the pick, not the name. Yeah, that's right. I've started my own channel. Well, get the particulars on that. Is it a golf channel? Golf and Michigan football with Andres? I'd watch that. How to hit a 8-iron and who Michigan should play in 24 by Andres? I'm in. How great Ernest Hausman's going to be, and should Rory McIlroy boycott the PGA or the U.S. Open because of LIV with Andres? How about we play the game at a neutral site about Ford Field? I'll leave that to Michigan State. I don't want Michigan. If Michigan is going to play a home game, I don't want them playing at Ford Field. I want them to play at Michigan. Even if Ford Field was empty and they had the first round of the playoff and there was a blizzard coming in, there was going to be 20 inches of snow, and Michigan was playing Oklahoma in the first round in 2024 of the college football playoffs, and Ford Field was open, and they were expecting 20 inches of snow on Saturday, and Ford Field said, we just moved the game over to Ford Field. It'd be fine. Perfectly, great. 72 degrees, we're all set. No. I want to play at the Snow Bowl 2. I know the first one was down in 1936 in Columbus. 2024. Almost 100 years later at Michigan. The questions make sense if you read the question before it. Nice advice, Shadyville. I remember Justin Fargas getting injured in a game at UCLA. If you were asking me what game that Justin Fargas injured his leg in, he played great in the mud against Northwestern. And my first name that came to mind, Shadyville, was Wisconsin, that Justin Fargas got hurt. Not UCLA, but I don't know. That's we'll go against you. You're telling me what you remember, and I'm telling you what I think. So it could be wrong. We don't know who Moose is. And who's him? Are you telling Moose not to argue with me, Antoine? I don't get it. But that doesn't happen. Let's see. We'll get to the... There's blank name who joins us once in a while. West Coast teams have an advantage during the night games. Michigan better have it scheduled for the middle of the day. Yeah, hopefully Michigan USC in 2027 will be a noon start in Ann Arbor. Let's go. Know what I'm saying? Get that advantage. Hopefully it's later in the year when it's cold. That's what, now we're talking. USC, Michigan in the big house. Noon start, November 18th, 2027. Be pretty cold for those SC fans coming in. Bring it on. Right, Blank? Let's do it. Let's see. There it is. Get a green screen. I might get a green screen. If I get a green screen, I'm going to get the overhead shot of Michigan when they play UNLV this year at the start. It'll be like, wow, why do you got the... What game was that? That's Antoine's game. All you need is the Michigan OSU game and repeat in the background. Yeah. Well, I do that. Today I went with it was a planetary. It really didn't do it. Sometimes you just run these 10-hour deals. It's supposed to be relaxing watching like some planets or nebulas or something. Let's see actually what it's called. Space deep relaxation. Space ambient relaxing music. Let's see how relaxing it is. Okay. It is pretty relaxing. But not as relaxing. Let's say you are here. Right there. That's where you guys are at. You're looking at it. I'll keep the deep music on in the background. Drake May is eligible to go to the draft next year. So that's happening. All right. Vargas transferred to UCLA. Close. He transferred to USC. Shadyville was on top of that one. And his dad played, I was going to say Starsky or Hutch, but it wasn't either Starsky and Hutch, but he was Huggy Bear in Starsky and Hutch. Little bit before my time. I might have watched a little bit of Starsky and Hutch, but not enough where I kind of remembered, Huggy Bear. Although I did see some pictures of it in the bell bottoms and, the bigger hair and the sweet, like, satin shirt and everything is, and I looked and I think, I could see that was Justin Vargas's, Justin Vargas's dad. It sounds like I am dying and about to go to heaven. Well, Antoine, one day it is going to happen, and I hope it happens just as you say. I hope that when I'm sitting there in 50 years and, Michigan places, we'll be sitting, me and Antoine will be sitting around. Michigan will be, scheduling Miami, and Antoine will be like, I want him to play North Dakota State. And, at Michigan, after winning a couple national championships, I'll be sitting there in a rocker, I don't know, hopefully 90, 100 years old, who knows. And then I'll hear this music. And then that'll be it. It'll be time to go to football's Valhalla. Yost and certainly Ufer be like, let's go. Let's do it. There's a player in the NFL or NBA whose mom played Felicia in Friday. Bye, Felicia. This is Brad Kaya from the U, who was drafted by who? Shadyville? Who was he drafted by? That's right. The Detroit Lions. Pretty crazy. I don't really know if that is true. So I'll just leave it there. I want everybody to have a great weekend. Thanks to Seth Berry for joining us. Good luck to all of the recruits in and around Ann Arbor and their hosts and all of you. We'll see you. I want to see you over on the Maize Blue review. Now's the time. Free until fall camp. Get full access today. Use the promo code U of M 2024. And then say when you get on there, hey, let's talk some Michigan. And we can do it all weekend. We'll see you there. Give us a shot. Thanks for watching. We'll talk with you on Monday. We'll see you over on the Den this weekend on the Maize Blue review. Till then.